so the last Maimer was Shmuly, that's Shabbos Mevarchim Iyar, and then there was a full month, and then comes the Maimer in Bechukosi Tileicho with Shabbos Mevarchim Sivan. After this Maimer, there's a serious bunch of Mamarim. Right after Bechukosi, you have on Shavuos, you have 3 Mamarim on Shavuos. Right, there was the Maimer in those years. There was the Maimer Matan Torah, which was the Maimer about 3 o'clock in the morning, the night of Shavuos, Tikkun Leil Shavuos. That would come down and say a Maimer. And then by the Shavuos Farbrengen itself, there were 2 Mamarim, Aneicha V'Alikecha and Iyu V'Chiyur Yichad. And then there's a hemshech to that. That's already the end of the month, but right here is another few Mamarim right here. Now this Kufa was very interesting to Kufa. Reish Chodesh Iyar was the story in Kfar Chabad of Yad HaChamisha, where an Arab terrorist came into the Beis Sefer L'Malacha and murdered 5 students and Elter Bacher, a teacher, and because of that they made Yad HaChamisha. It was a massive story at the time because, in a way, the Rebbe's Nesiah started after the greatest tragedy in centuries, with World War II. Right, so you had the Holocaust, Michad, and then you had Soviet Jewry and Stalin. But in Artis HaRevacha, once the Rebbe's Nesiah started, there was a certain, where the Sheres HaPleita, Ud Mutzel Miyesh, and now there's Ach Toiv V'Chesed. And then came Rosh Chodesh Iyar Tavshin Tezayin, when these kids, Achman and Islam, were murdered in Kfar Chabad, and Lubavitch was shaken to the core. What was Kfar Chabad? It was mostly Russian immigrants. It was Unzera, Mishpachas, and they finally want to live a normal life. And then they felt that they're mamish not safe. That it's not really shaykh to live over here. Many people want to leave Kfar Chabad. The whole idea was okay, it was a cool idea for a few years. Let's shut it down. There was a massive, there was a pachad over here. This big panic. There's many different stories about it. The first few days, the Rebbe, at least they didn't receive anything from the Rebbe, but then did a shiva, they got a mivrak and a michtav. You see in Igris a few letters. The Rebbe's mechazik them to gain weiter and to boyin. But Bigolui, the Rebbe didn't really speak about it. The first time the Rebbe spoke in public after that was Lag BaOmer. There was I think it was the first parade in the Rebbe's Nesiah. Yud Gimel was a kinus, I don't think it was a parade, right? Where the parade? Right? Avi. Right. Okay. By the time kinus, no parades. Marches. Under together. So I think Tezayin was the first parade. There was Tezayin and Yud Zayin. So there, I don't think the Rebbe spoke about it. By the Farbrengen, Bechukosi, this Farbrengen, so the Rebbe spoke about it, not by Arichis, but the Rebbe spoke about the Inyan. Most of the Farbrengen is Mug. Look, the Sikh is Chilik Aleph, the end of Chilik Aleph, the Sikh of Bechukosi, the entire Sikh is come out the whole. The Farbrengen is come out the whole Farbrengen. It's like 3-4 Sikhs together. It's the whole Farbrengen of Bechukosi. Tezayin. This small keta is taken out. You probably know the Sikh. The Sikh ever reads the 3 eights in Tanya to how to deal with Yisurim. The Biur in Perek Chavav and 2 Biurim in Iger Sakir. I'm not going to get into the Arichas. The Kud is the Rebbe set up a kesha to this, how to deal with the Matzav. Then, Behemshech Lazeh, by the Shavuos Farbrengen, the Rebbe said 2 Ma'amarim. The second Ma'amar was after the Rebbe spoke about the Inyan, what happened in Kfar Chabad, the Krevei HaKodesh, don't look for Biurim, don't try to explain it. And was the Kunz, Sedodi was will metared sein the Indian from the Krevei HaKodesh. And the Rebbe said, well, what's the Kunz? So Masber sein, ein Indian built in movement mit the noch an Indian was built in movement. What are you doing here? So that's a beer, Krevei HaKodesh. Yeah. Anyway, then the Rebbe says he's going to send Shluchim to Eretz Yisrael. That's when the Rebbe sent the Bachrim. Right, the 10 Berech around 10 Bachrim. It was in Eretz Yisrael. That was like the first time that the Americans came to Eretz Yisrael. Come from Rebbe. See the picture, they came as with their gray suits, and it was a massive stir and came to Eretz Yisrael, and it was mamash mechazik And Behemshech Lazeh, the Rebbe said a second Maimer, Yivich Yoy Chad. So this Kufa, a lot of the Sprach, a lot of the Reiden was this binyan after the tragedy that was going on. And so, I don't know, this Maimer you see it clear, but in some of the Mamar, you see Shavuos, you see there's some Reid that connects to the Sichas that revolve around this theme. What's going on at the time. So this is Bechukosi to Zayin. The Maimer is very, very Geschmack in Maimer. There's a lot of ayin days, different chalakim and ayin days over here. Bikr, and you have here the summer of ayin dalid and other parts. What's going on? There's a lot of sugyas. Now, how many sugyas come up in this Maimer? You guys finished the Maimer? You went through the Maimer? The middle of the Maimer? Right. So what did you read? Okay, so the beginning of the Maimer is a ksiva, is a chakika. Okay. Then we go into Siv Dalid. Two ifanim in hashpa. Hashpa mitzad bitol and hashpa mitzad roimimus. Hashpa mitzad isnasos. Right. Each one of these has many pratim and many inyanim in the Sif Hey, he speaks about the inyan, the two pchinis, ba'oimeko inyan and ba'ifin na'le yoiser. And what are the oisias there? Oyer and shefa. Oyer and shefa in Chassidus is one Geschmack Sugis in Chassidus. It's interesting, in the Rebbe's Mamorim, you don't see it that much. There's not so much of a narichus about it. There's in the Mugadik Mamorim you have, if I'm not mistaken, I think in V'nacha Yudalid. Yeah, V'nacha Yudalid has it, but not so much barichus. Here is this. It's a page. It's a sif, but there's he goes into the sugya of Oyer v'Shefa, and then in the next kata, that just like there's Oyer v'Shefa in Oyer Gufa, there's like Oyer and Shefa sheba Oyer. What's Oyer v'Shefa sheba Oyer? Oyer Pnimi and Oyer Makiv. Fine. Okay, so we started with Isis the Ksiva, Isis the Chakika, two Oyer Anim and Ashpa. The two Anim and Ashpa can be connected to Oyer and Shefa, which connects to Oyer Pnimi or Makiv. Okay, and then what? And what's the point? What are we trying to say? Other than speaking about a lot of Gishmaki and Yonim and Chassidus. What's the point, right? Each Maimer ultimately has a point. What's the point we're trying to bring out of here? That's for anyone that finished the Maimer. There's also Yeshua Caleb, sorry. Right. Okay, what's the point? That what? Meaning what? What's the chiddush? Right? Always, what's the chiddush? What's the Maimer bringing out? What's the question and answer of the Maimer? Oh, because in the beginning of the Maimer, ergeit tifer or nachtif, right? There's seksiva. Seksiva is great, and you're writing it down, right? Let's say nefesh, you're connecting to it, you're involved. But what? But ksiva is not one thing with the klaf. Right? It's nicht ein zach. So like you have seichel, but it's not the rosa de liba. It's not you. You're using some of your faculties. You're using some tools, but you're not fully invested. Or you connect to something, you're not connecting to it in ganzen. It's like chitzonius, the geluyim. Fine. So hecher therefore is what eisis achkika. In eisis achkika gufa, there's two efanim. There's eisis achkika regular, and there's eisis achkika. What's the second level? Me'ever le'ever. What's the mile me'ever le'ever with the first one? What's the two chesroinis? Let's say in the Isis Achkika. Isis Achkika is great. Okay, it's part and parcel of the Evan. It's not a davar noisef. It says two inyanim. The b'mokim achakika. What's the lashon eini mavik? Yeah, there's a certain lashon there that it's not that it doesn't shine as bright or as klar. And noch an inyan. That's mitzad atzvi. Another inyan is that in the place of the chakika you could put in dioi, right? There's an smoking for ksiva. It's smoking for ksiva. Shenkin Isis Achikam Ever Le'ever is the ultimate. But then he asks at the end of Sif Gimel Ishkoyach Ksiva Chakika Me'ever Le'ever. But for it, what? It's Oisius. It's not the Evan itself. Or it's not just a pure Evan. Unadulterated, unfiltered. There's something much deeper. You're going to get, okay, so there's Midas, there's Seichel, then you go to Ratzin, Rusa de Liebe, Gvaldik. But even Rusa de Liebe, it's a Ratzin, it's a Bitu, it's a Hamshacha. It's not Etzem Nefesh Mamish. What's Etzem Nefesh Mamish? What would that manifests itself as? What does he say in the Maimer? Mesiras Nefesh. Right? What's meant this? Why is Mesiras Nefesh? Right? Also, Mesiras Nefesh is a Tnuah. No Tnuah at all. Should be a guy sleeping. Yeah. Either a guy sleeping or Ner Mishnasa. Yeah. Ner Mishnasa. But this is already a Tnuah Mesiras Nefesh. What differentiates Mesiras Nefesh from all these other dargas that we had until here? Pasha, when you read the Maimon, what were you thinking? Huh? Yeah, but it doesn't mean Mesiras Nefesh the act of There's no rutz, right? There's no rutz. It's like margala, yeah. But that all these inyanim, even Rusa de Liba, it's a similar word to margala, yeah. The Rusa de Liba, there's a rutz, there's a tnuah, ich will. Now it could be that the tzura of the ratzin, what does the ratzin want? Will in ganzen sein bottle and nichlal batzmus yizbar, but it's the ratzin ha'ada, right? So I think the tzura of the ratzin is ganzen bittul, but the choimer ratzin, the etzem ratzin is a tnuah. Ich will, I want, right? I want some. What's Mesiras Nefesh? Legt sich up in ganzen afazai. There's no me, right? There's no. I want. I'm interested. I'm thinking. Totally ibrig. What does the Eibishter want? What's what he wants? That's Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh. What's Mesiras Nefesh? Mesiras Nefesh is Mesiras Haratzin. Nafshi Mesiras Haratzin. So it's a samehepech of Rusa. Rusa the Liba is Haratzin. Haratzin Alev. Shachs Alev. Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Haratzin. Fine. So in this case, there is nothing covering, right? It's etzem nefesh b'pshitus, one with atzmus yisbarech, not getting in the way at all. So that should be the ultimate. Don't give me yosis aksiva. Don't give me yosis achkika. Don't even give me yosis achkika me'ever le'ever. But why? But what's the vert of the? What does the Torah tell us? In Bechukosi hayteilechu, which is the highest level. What the highest you could go is achkika me'ever le'ever. Why not say? I don't know. What should it say? That's it, right? So Lefi, you've learned with the Pesach Maimer. Did ever give out? Yidalef Nissen. Yishalcha Bincha, yeah? Ki Yishalcha, there he speaks also about the Isach Kika and Chika Meir Le'ever. So Lefi the Maimer would come out, Bimechukosi Leichu is going on Isach Kika, right? Which is already the Indian of Soiviv. If we're speaking about Atzmos, what should it be? It should be Eidos, right? Mishpatim is Memala to Eisach Siva. Chukim, different dargas and Chukim would be Eisach Kika, the two Eisach Kika. And Pshittis, Etzem would be Eidos. Fine, so should say Imbe Eidoisai, if you're looking for a word to use. That's a Kud of Eidos. Atem Eida. There's nothing in the way. There's no Tnuah here. A Yid is Ein Zachmet and Ebershtin. For that, he brings the whole arichas in the Maimer. The whole arichas in the Maimer to bring out which nekuda. There's this level of ashba, there's that level of ashba. Oyer, shefa, oyer pnimi, oyer makif, oyeris kelim, asvas. That there is a certain level of hamshacha of oyer that transcends kelim and oisius, right? That we don't deal with oisius. And then there's hamshacha through oisius. What's higher? What's his hecher? Oyer is higher than Shefa. Oyer Makif is higher than Oyer Pnimi. Oyer is higher than Kelim. Oyer is higher than Tzimtzum. Chulu v'chulu. Aber. Then page 22. Abiza Yuvan Mashaklolis in Yinashpa Nimshach Idea Kelim Dak. Shizo when you know Oisius. We want the Oisius. Right, Pashas. There's two ways. Right, there's many ways of Amshachar we speak about here in the Bible. Let's say even close. There's two ways you could communicate with someone. There's verbal communication, or articulated communication, and there's non-verbal communication. Right? And very often, sometimes we say that non-verbal communication is maybe even more important than verbal communication. Right? Mechanech kids. There's what you tell them, and then there's the who you are, and the tnuas, and the there's many dargas. There's how you look at them and how and your facial expressions, etc. But then there's even more than that. You're etzem and hagya, right? Being a dugmachai. So in a way, that hamshach, which is more makiftik, that hamshach is maybe stronger. But sof the tachlis is the hashpah that comes through oisius, articulated hashpah. Why? Because that's the kavanah, the yumshach ha'er b'slapshus. Fine. So here's the shayla. If the vart is that should be in oisius and being in slapshus, so why are we going to Bechukosi? Why are we going to chakika? If you're going to slapshus, go all the way down. Do oisius aksiva. Right? If you're looking for the Mailad in Kates, if you're looking for Etzem, the highest darga, don't bring any oisius. Pshittas. Etzem HaNefesh. Elamai, the Tachas HaKavana is slapshus. In oisius. And then he says, and in oisius there's different dargas. There's Kalim and Atzilis, where there are Miyuchadim, Kalim and Biyad, there are Nifradim. So each level of oisius is a lower level until you reach Nefesh Bahamas. No, so what's the lowest level and what's going to reach Nefesh Bahamas? Which is Aksiva. So where do we go wrong? So how do we end up in the middle? Right? The middle is supposed to be losing out of here. Oisius Achkika is Nishtaheh. If it's Oir, no oisius. If it's Shefa, Oir Pnimi, oisius Aksiva. Oisius Achkika. How do you understand it? He leaves it a bit open, but how do you understand the mashmos? So you're saying we're trying to hold the rope. You're saying we're trying to hold it by both sides. On the one hand, have his slabshus, but also have the ultimate bittul. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Anyone else learned the Maamar, understood it similar or different? I can't really say there's a wrong answer because the Rebbe almost leaves it a bit open. Anyone else got to this part of the Maamar? Sivav. Essentially, look at the end. The last few lines are on the page 22. What's the Avodah? That the Nefesh Elokis has to work with the Nefesh Bahamis. And not in Yonim, there are L'mayla Me'asagas Nefesh Bahamis. Because then the pull on Nefesh Bahamis will only be B'chinas Makif. That's not the Kavan. Rather, you have to be Mispoinin in Yonim Hashayachim Nefesh Bahamis. So let me ask you something. If you're mispoinin Yonim Mishach Nefesh Bahamis, is that oisius achakika or is that oisius aksiva? How do you understand that? Like, what are we being shayla? In other words, there's three levels. There's no ispoinus b'chlal, etzem nefesh, gili etzem nefesh. There's already ispoinus, but ispoinus of Yonim Nefesh Elokis, what you call tachlis habitul l'chayr, right? And then there's ispoinus in Yonim that are shaykh Nefesh Bahamis. And then he says, b'chinas oisius achakika. Separate from the person, is one with the person. Over Mela.
So that's why it's one with the Nefesh. It's like one with.
So l'ch'eira, it seems over here and also earlier in the Maamar, it's not fully clear. What makes something oisius achakika? Right, because when he speaks in the beginning of the Maamar, already in 6 days, when he speaks about what the oisius achakika is in avodah, like every few lines. There's like an invert, a nachavart, nachavart. So let's see over here. First he says, here. So in the middle of the page 16. So there's a vart there. The b'chlalos. What's the difference between Yisik Siva and Chakika? The hefresh between avodah b'keiches hageloyim la'avodah derosa deliba. Koiches hageloyim are mitzias outside the etzem hanefesh. You're just enslavish in them. It's like they're tools that you use to mekayim mitzvah yisbarich. The koiches are an independent identity. But avodah derosa deliba, there's no mitzias chutz me'anefesh, and that's all derech l'nina v'yisik Chakika. So in those lines, what's the mashmos? What oisius siva and chakika b'yachas to what? Meaning, who? In other words, who's the schreiber, and what's the parchment or even that's being written on? Right? From those few lines, how do you understand it? What does it mean oisius siva oisius chakika? The oisius or the what's being written is Torah mitzvahs. Right? And the question is, where is it hitting you? Is it being put on you as a davar noisa? Like me myself, I'm not fully present. it's on my seichel and on my midas, right? Or it's chakuk in etzem hanefesh. It's chakuk in etzem hanefesh. But you look a few lines earlier. The line starts ha'ois. It's like 7 or 8 lines from the top. K'moichen yuvin ba'avoida oisis aksiva. You're not miyuchad with the avoida. Oisis achkika is miyuchad with the avoida. Niklolos avoida hi mashen nefesh alikis oivedes in nefesh bahamis b'zeh yesh beizei fanim. That there's 2 oifanim in how the nefesh alikis is oivid with nefesh bahamis, which the Chayre gives written mashmos that we're talking about how into the nefesh bahamis you go, right? We're not speaking about the etzem nefesh over here. We're not speaking about from velche. In other words, is the ksiva chakika what level of the nefesh alikis, or is the ksiva chakika what level of nefesh bahamis? You're saying it's one and the same.
But it's both.
Huh?
It's both. It's all about the nefesh bahamis. So the kika is happening in the nefesh bahamis. But you have to have the right tool to do.
No, but Shiloh's like this. In other words, when we say ksiva chakika, are we saying how invested you are inside your neshama, or how much are you poil? How deeply is the nefesh alikis involved in and explaining to and being milo the nefesh bahamis, right? Because the way the lois is there, it's a bit vague. Let's see over here. The way at least it's brought over here. Again, it's the built-in book. It's hard to be medayik exactly, but the lashonas over here are that the oisis achkika is sheyislabish b'nefesh bahamis v'yisachid boy. Almost like the oisius being written. The oisius are the nefesh alikis, and the even or the daf is nefesh bahamis, and how miyuchad there ein mit tzveit. What's he saying? He's saying that there's higher oisius of nefesh alikis that nefesh bahamis can understand, and then there's another nefesh bahamis understands. So the higher oisius is more than nefesh alikis alone. Yes, that's chassidus. Nefesh alikis, when he's mispointed in yonim, nefesh bahamis could only understand cholav avcha, malikolam. The nefesh alikis could understand seiviv kalam. That's why cholav avcha, two study halev are only shaykh when you get to only shaykh when you get to mal. Shenkin seiviv. So nefesh alikis, when nefesh alikis is on his own, nefesh alikis isn't mispointed in afloas elikos, in seiviv, in atzmos, in hechere in yonim. Nefesh alikis loves the mysteries, what's not understanding. It's a different way of seeing things, right? It's not the grub seichel that we use to understand physics and how to plan our schedule. But here we're saying this sachkika is this achdus nefesh bahamis. It's a chiddush in Avona and Isis Achkika. It's a chiddush in Avona. That the Isis Achkika is the Isis Achkika in the Nefesh Bahamis. Now we'll see. We'll get back to this, but that's the Ershazach. The Kudus on Maimer. Now in the Maimer, Seretach wegen Oyer and Shefa, and the different levels of Chesed. Very shmak in yonim. Yeah, there's 2 ifanim in chesed. There's a shpa mitzad bittul and shiflus, and there's a shpa mitzad roimimus v'isnasus. Right? Understand the 2 kind of levels of ashpa? There's two motivations. When you see ish toiv, there's an lashon toiv, ish chesed. Yeah, ish chesed. Where does chesed come from? So in Lashon HaKabbalah, there's chesed zuta and rav chesed. One oifen in chesed is if people, right, let's put it, the unhealthy version of it is if people that are people pleasers. Yeah? Whatever they do, they're, on the one hand, you look at them, they're always helping people out. They're always being good, they're always nice, they're always the first one to be, to clean and to set up and to take care. And It's a gewaltige Sache. But what's going on? What's happening is that the person has no self-esteem, has no identity, and his whole mitzias is that he gets validation from other people. So v'meila, by giving to other people, by always being nice, so he gets, right? So it's a chesed mitzad shiflut. It's not a chesed mitzad. It's mitzad shiflut. Now that's the unhealthy version. That's the unhealthy version. Being a people's pleaser, the unhealthy version. Saying that's chesed zutta. No, what I'm saying is I'm going to give the healthy and unhealthy version of both cheseds, No. If it's a kedusha, then it's healthy, right? Yeah. I'm saying in the unhealthy version. What am I saying? I'm actually here to have a free psychology class. The nekuda is to be mavir. What is it, right? So this is something that's very relatable, and we all know it. People have it in themselves. People know it. Other people that are very stuck. On the one hand, they're very, very helpful. Mitzad Sheni, it's like you have no identity whatsoever, right? So that's not chesed zutta. Chesed zutta that somebody feels that they're worthless and elamai. So what's the healthy version of chesed zutta? How do you understand it? What does he say? Where does he have it over here? Right, the einei tzarich la'atzmoi. Mitzad habitul hakel teifsim makim etzli v'nirim, the top of it, 19. V'nirim l'davar chashuv sheroi lashpi alehem. And at the end of the keta, roi yarak satoi b'chol davar v'chashuv b'einav lashpi elav v'chol v'chol. Nechshav be'eini atzmi k'shirayim atzmi le'yitzarich klum. Okay, the Shpiya of Nassim Zgel. Let's say the Indian of here, 6 lines from the bottom of 18. Most, he says like this, interesting. Most Anoshim Tovim are this version, are the Chesed Zutta, not the Rav Chesed, which is Shubitachas Avitul B'Nafshei, right? It's not a sense, not that he has to give to others. Without them, he doesn't have a Metzias. That's not real Chesed. In that version, you're giving to other people to receive, right? It's avachazer la'oyev. You're looking for a mitzias. No, that person fakert is lacking a mitzias, and he has to get a mitzias to go elsewhere. Here, sometimes he's lacking a mitzias. The tachas bitul benafshi. Tachas bitul benafshi means. That's his mitzias. His identity is bittul. His identity is bittul. Darf garnish nit. Darf garnish nit. Darf nicht. Kommt dem nicht. I have what I need. I don't deserve anything special. I don't need anything. He's not needy. The other person's very needy. This guy's not needy at all. He's not. He does darf garnish nit. Tzacheni, he looks at because he's bittul. He looks at everybody. He sees the beauty in everybody. He sees the toiv in everybody. He sees the ma'ila from Yedereina. Yeah, you have it. There's the sicha of bittul, the Rebbe, Chelik Yud Zayin, the beginning of Chelik Yud Zayin, Vayikra, the small aleph, the big aleph. It speaks about bittul. As ichlim bottle, but Yena is aggressive bittul, something like that. Something like that. Yeah, I'm a nobody, but he's a bigger nobody. No, the real bittul is. He's able to see the mile in every single person. There's nothing getting in the way. He's able to see. People don't see the miles in other people because it threatens my mitzias. But someone that their mitzias is bittul, what are you taking away? There's nothing to take away from me. Derbas verspreits something on space medrash. So everyone's menia v'ikuf to his mitzias because wherever you're going, you're stepping on me. This guy, no one can step on him because he doesn't take up space. So if you don't take up space, so everybody else, there's a place for everybody else. Erzol bakum and Erzol bakum. Everyone else should get. Then there's Rav Chesed. What's Rav Chesed? Rav Chesed is the merumah u'menusa b'yoyser v'toiv loy b'yoyser. Im ezeir gut. Right. So here also is the healthy and unhealthy version. Right. So the unhealthy version of im ezeir gut. Right. You have the guy, the big gvir, hat a sach geld, and he wants the ganze Welt soll wissen. Yeah. Achashverosh made a party 180 days. You have also the Meseirah from the Rebbe, yeah. That's Ken Prav and 180 Tag. The first Seirah of the Megillah is, if you could do it, you have to do it. But what's he praving 180 days and all 7 days and this kind of competitions and what's it all? He wants everyone to know. Everyone should know who he is. He wants everyone to be aware and take part in his ashirus and his toiv v'chol. Fine, so it's not about weiter. It's not about hashpah. That's not hashpah. He's being makabel. He's not being hashpia anything. He's just trying to gain people's affirmation for his ashirus. He's all empty and with all his ashirus, he needs people to praise him. Then there's the healthy. There's the halakha. There's the halakha oifin of Rav Chesed. How does that work? What's a Rav Chesed? Sometimes if he says a lashon here, a lashon chassidus is teva toiv laheit about the Eibishter. Yeah, the Eibishter is teva toiv laheit. What's pshat teva toiv laheit? How do you understand? What's pshat teva toiv laheit? Let's translate. He's be'etzem good, therefore he gives good. Yeah, what is it? Yeah, but like what's the chiddush? Like of course, if he's good, good people do bad things. What's the where's it going to come from? Yeah, he's a good guy, but he does bad things. Chiddush teva toiv laheit. If he says it here, but in the Mamarim, in this sugya, it says, what's that teva toiv laheitiv? Teva hatoiv, the teva of someone was by em is good, laheitiv. Someone was by em is good. He's healthy. He has a shiris. He's happy. By not toiv that he's a good person. Teva hatoiv as is good by him. If life is good, you give. Why don't people give? Why don't people smile? Why don't people helpful? Because they're in pain, because they're troubles, they're issues, they're daigas, they're this, they're so busy, they're so absorbed with themselves, they don't. But Abe is out good, Badir. You're comfortable, you're happy. Zol gissen. Right? By B'shas HaSimcha, especially with Chasunas B'nai Yechidei, people give and they'll even get along with their soinim and they'll give tzedakah to everybody, they'll splurge, vazbis. Well, it's teva hatoiv. It's good by it. So mishmak avar. Teva hatoiv laheitiv. Teva hatoiv. Ah?
That's the floss of Yosef.
The what?
Even when he was in a massive, they asked him, why are you? He noticed the other person.
So even when he wasn't good.
Even when he was in.
Madua pneichem zoyafim ayoyim. Yeah, the sicha. Yeah. Right? It's a chiddush. Usually when people are walking around with tzaras. But teva, but this isn't. It's not avoid. It's a teva. It's teva. So what does it mean with the Eibishter? The Eibishter is not about a shirs, but the Eibishter, it's good. There's tachlis shirs. There's no chisarin. There's nothing missing, right? The Eibishter is tachlis shleimus. So we made it teva hatoiv laheitiv. From that toiv comes out. So this is the Rav Chesed. It's the Rav Chesed that it's nimshach l'kol echad v'ech. Then he's mavir. This is not mashin isbar b'mokim acher. That there's the nekudah, that the rachamim comes, that different nekudah. This is teva toiv laheitiv. This is nekudah that the chesed that comes from toiv. Then there's a different word that teva that the teva merumam nimshach al shafel. That dafka mitzat someone that's merumam, he has rachmanus. He says that's a different nekudah. Rachmanus. The difference between rachmim and chesed. Chesed is, it's not that the isha chesed is thinking about all the poor people. He's throwing a party. It's good. So he's throwing a party. Let everybody come. Good people, bad people, rich people. Everyone could come. The schnorrers could come, and just go to a smorgasbord and take whatever you want. Right? It's not the kud of rachim is different. The rachim is on the shuffle. The lashon is teva hamerun nimshach al shafel. After someone that's merumim, he's nimshach al shafel. I mentioned before. There's a meredik word from the Rebbe, answer from the Rebbe. The Rebbe wrote on the letter of a yid that wrote to JJ Hecht. He was this yid, the Pashta yid, that was very close to the Friedrich Rebbe, got a lot of brachas and eitzes. Friedrich Rebbe was nostalgic. He writes to JJ after. He says, I don't know what to do now. I don't have an connection with the Rebbe anymore. So now I just have to pray to God. He says, the problem is that I'm such a simple person, and I have no. And why would God? What's Hater mit mir? I'm a nobody. I have no shaykhs. In order for me to continue in my faith, I have to. It has to make sense to me that God does care about me and my prayers are meaningful. Because if not, I still believe in God, right? But how could I pray? How could I have a connection with Him? So JJ seems to pass this on to the Rebbe. Like, what do I answer this guy? The Rebbe wrote on the bottom of the page in a few words. Kulam shfeilim ligabei, v'lechein nimshach l'kol echer, something like that. You know, as you're saying, how do you have a shekhesh that you're so shuffle, you're a nobody. Everyone is shuffle, and that's why we have a relationship with him. Because Teva Miron needs to nimshach shuffle. The Indian of Rachmim is not on the shuffle, not the Sar. Sar, the king is he doesn't have Rachmanis on him. He has Rachmanis on the Pashta people, on the shuffle. Chesed doesn't work that way. That's including being mechalik here. Rachmim is only to the shuffle. Chesed is to everybody. Then, I read wegen V'Shefa. Listen, the Mamorim. This is the Mamorim. So that's from Barichis. There's a Merdik Sicha. Tavshan Lamed Zayin that the Rebbe speaks about V'Shefa. I say the Nekuda. It's a very Geshmak Sicha to look up because you can hear it. I don't think it's on video. But it's definitely on tape. Shabbos was Yud Shabbos, Motzi Shabbos, Tavshan Lamed Zayin. Yutes Kislev, Motzi Yutes Kislev, Chav Kislev, Tavshan Lamed Zayin. The Rebbe said that he wants, it's the Chafart Yutes Kislev, that from Tana Inyan and it's Neget Chassidus. The Rebbe said he wants to introduce two things: printing Ayin Beis and bring back the need of Mashpiyim. Right, this was before Echesed Chorah. There should be Mashpiyim b'chol ir. So Ayin Beis, that was the big shturim, and the Chavri HaKoilel then worked on it, and over the next few months, I think it could be free trial, already the first Krach came out. It was record time. It was the first time Ayin Beis was printed. The Rebbe said he was very scared about printing it, which why he didn't print it for a long time, so everyone should give $1. It's a whole ma'aseh. What was the second name? The Mashpiyim. Mashpiyim, the Rebbe continued speaking about this many times throughout that year. Many of the sichas, at least the teichen of the sichas, is mugeh, include the sichas in the back, the isafis. These in the Rebbe then asked them to print. The Rebbe then printed Kuntres Avos Yisrael and gave it to everyone that took upon themselves to be a mashpia or mashpia for women with the Rebbe's signature. The Rebbe wrote Hakdash and a signature. So the next Farbrengen was Yud Shvat. So the Rebbe said, "We'll get wegen the for mashpia." It was a long sikh, over 40 minutes. And Shaila is, wann kommt der Indian Musik for mashpia? So the whole Musik of Mashpiyim starts with Alter Rebbe. Alter Rebbe introduced the Indians of Mashpiyim. One of the dark Chassidus, Indian of Mashpiyim. Now, Chabad, everything we do is like different. We have our own Nusach, our own Indian. So this also, like everyone in the world has Moira Derech. There's a Rav, there's a Madrich, a Moira, whatever. Chabad, Mashpiyim. Why do you have to have a new Toyer? What's the Schlecht, what's the Gewinn Besitz? Look in the Gemara. There's a Rav, there's a Rebbe. What do you need Mashpiyah for? Elamai ki yadua the dafka the achroinim are mefarish where the rishonim are soisim. So the Alter Rebbe as an achrin wanted to bring out, when you say you're a Rav and someone that gives adrach, you don't know what kind of relationship does he have with his talmidim. Dafka mashpia, because mashpia loshen shefa. And everyone in the whole sikha explaining the difference between Eir and Shefa, very geshmak sikha of Eir v'Shefa. Especially when you looked on the Maimer of the Friedrich Rebbe that was printed around then. And Chavos Mavurin Chassidus, the multiple chilukim in Eir v'Shefa, that Eir mein amoir, Shefa is a mitzias, is a mahus. You're actually giving something. Let's say shifas mayim. You pour water from one cup to another. Something moved from here, point A to point B. Oir is always connected to the moir. So that's what different. I can get into the arichas, look into the sicha, but did I ever learn nafkin minutes from them? And how? And when I'm saying that I want mashpiyim, what kind of relationships do mashpiyim have? How should they teach their mushpoim? So the few Inyanim, the Rebbe says like this. One of the Inyanim is that in Oir and Moir, and in Amshocha of Oir, so the Moir is not misasik with the Mekabel, just mamshecher, right? And then when the Moir leaves, the Oir leaves with him, right? The sun goes down. There's no more Oir in this world. It doesn't stay here. Once he's mashpia Oir, the light doesn't stay here anymore. It goes down with the Moir. Mashenkin Shefa, you give it over to somebody else. You're giving him something, a mahos, and it stays by him. You're misasik and it stays by him. Same thing to Ashpa. You have to misasik with the Mekabel, and then it stays by him. And the final chiluk is that Oir, the Teva Oir, is it's nimshach to Oir. Right? As you see by Nitzutz. You see by Pashat Eish. The Eish is trying to always go up. Oir wants to go back to its source. Shefa, once you pour water into a new cup, it's very comfortable where it is. So Oir, So oir. So what would this mean? How do you know that you're doing that shpaka de boy? So it's interesting. First point in Shefa is that the Rav has to be misasik with the Talmud, Bizer Versteht, and be yoyred to him on his level and care about him. But mitzad sheni, you know at Shefa, if at some stage the Talmud figures it out on himself and doesn't have to come running back to the Rav every few minutes and every question he has, because that would be oir. Oir is always running back to the moir. Shefa doesn't run back. Shefa, once you pour it over here, it's a frish, it's here. The seichel goes over and after the Talmud, it stays by the Talmud. That's in your Shefa. That's that for bring. What's interesting in Teir Shalom, there's a very gishmak sicha where the Rebbe explains the difference between the Alter Rebbe and the Mittel Rebbe, that the Alter Rebbe was oir and the Mittel Rebbe was Shefa, even though both of them had both, but Bechlolos, he's oir and Shefa. And then he says that a real mashpia, in other words, when you really to poil enough imitzin, to be poil on somebody, it has to be b'derech oir and not Shefa. And not Shefa. The dogma he brings there, very interesting. The dogma he brings there is, he says mashpia is always misasik with the makabel. He's affected by the makabel a lot, and he thinks about it. He cares about what is the makabel, how does the makabel understand it, and how does the makabel think of me. So he's always in his mind, he's always obsessing over other derbas, nidikir from them, or someone on his level, or sometimes someone that's greater than him. He's always looking at other people and seeing how he fits in. But if that's the case, you'll never be able to mashpia on somebody, never to put on somebody, because you have no identity. You don't have identity of yourself. In order to taka be, he says the lashon, he says to be poil on somebody, you have to be in the kud of moir and oir. Ich bin wer ich bin, and I'm not going to spoil what this guy says, what that guy says, even someone greater than me. In other words, you need both stuff. On one hand, the hashpah with poil has to be in of shefa. That's in the kud of the sicha the Rebbe. The chain is in the kud in nefesh. There has to be in a kud of oir. Because oir is sublime and hecher. That's always you need the chibur of oir and shefa. And here you see in the sichas, this in the pasuk in hashpah with poil. In nefesh, you have to be in a kud of oir, hecher, not nispol, not yoyred, not gribbling zich. But in hashpah with poil, there was achin shlichus. Shlichus lemaise, you have to be kol kolei shefa. You can't just come there like a bacher going on American shlichus is oir. Shlichus of poil is shefa. You got to be involved, right? So you get too involved, you start caring what the boss thinks of you, and what the mayor thinks of you, and what the papers think of you. You lost the plot. So you have to have al moblai ben air. So in nefesh you have to be oir, but in the shlichus and the hashpah you have to be shefa. B'derech efshel.